Hey, positive paradigmers. Thank you for being here today for our positive paradigm chat number 9. Today is Thursday, November 14th, and we're back from a 2 week hiatus. Got a lot to talk about today, some fun things to share, some valuable insights and understandings that I've had in the last couple of weeks, and I'm very excited to share those kind of in context with what we're talking about tonight. Our two main topics we should all have at this point are C-type goal written down, at least one, maybe more than one, right? In our paradigm guide, right? Our positive paradigm planner. Um, the the key to realizing or beginning to realize, because it's all a process, right? Your C-type goal is sort of how we're going to talk about perception and determination, right? So this perception is one of those valuable tools that we have that are we don't get any real formal training with, right? It's just one of those things that kind of, it's like you have it, you don't have it, you have various degrees of it and everything, but we're not really taught how to get in tune with our perception. So we're going to talk about a couple aspects of that tonight. And before we do, I want to read a quote from Neville Goddard. And what he says is, thinking from the end is an intense perception of the world of fulfilled desire. So there's a lot in there, right? But thinking from the end, that's what we're talking about with our C-type goal. We want to put ourselves there. Remember, we talked about in terms of being in the present tense. Now that I have achieved my C-type goal, remember we talked about, for me it was a house near a creek and retirement, family close by, all that stuff, right? To really internalize it and to drive and to really feel that perception, to put yourself there using our imagination and the perception again. Uh, I want you to think about, as you're visualizing your goal, whatever it is, I want you to think about, the sights that you'll see in the present tense of realizing that goal, the sounds, right? So for me, it's by the creek, the sights. I could see the rushing water, the banks of the creek. I can hear the birds chirping. I can, what is it going to feel like to you in that moment as you realize it? So for me, I can feel the warmth of the morning sun on my face as I look out from my porch. And Amy and I have talked about this, and our goals really align and come together as we're putting it together. We're building our future together, and it's really exciting for me. As the world continues to reveal to me, and again with my understandings and things. So the details of it all really help with the perception aspect of it, right? So we talked about in terms of the consistency and everything, but that in the whole perception, you have to really, at this point, we're tuning in, and we talked about being on that frequency, right? So you really want to tune in to that frequency and get a real solid feel for what that frequency feels like. And as you put yourself on that frequency, we talked about how the world then begins to shift and maneuver and bring things to you on that frequency, right? Because you cannot receive and you cannot emit and get on that frequency, or excuse me, you can't get the things on that frequency without putting yourself there, right? Okay. So one of the things that I really want to talk about that I'm going through with this is I am getting better. It's all a process, right? So I can only say that I'm getting better at allowing myself to be, just like I'm saying, tuned in. We're allowing my perception to be altered, to be changed. And I'm looking at circumstances as they happen, truly not as good or bad, but like, what is it that I can learn from this circumstance? What is the universe trying to tell me in this moment? What can I grasp? What is it, and I keep feeling that more and more. Some of it's really hard to articulate, but what I'm trying to say is as you're moving forward in the process, It's hard. First of all, right? Let's just acknowledge that it's hard because what are we doing? We're trying to change our paradigm, and our paradigm is what we do, and we believe it. There's a reason that we do the things that we do. There's values that we hold. So any change of that is going to feel different. It's going to feel uncomfortable. It almost feels painful. Literally, it feels painful because you're out of sorts. What you don't want it to feel is normal. Because if it feels normal, we're not changing our paradigm. That's the exact definition. Normal, our individualistic normal, is our paradigm. So as we begin to alter it and change it, it's uncomfortable. It hurts. I'm going to be honest, it hurts. And as I go through these moments and I go through these realizations, it's like, oh boy, that means that I have to change and I have to really take action and I have to alter myself. And that's hard. It's difficult because when it all comes down to it, I'm taking that accountability. The problem is me. The change, the solution that I'm looking for has to come from within me. It's all about me. And that hurts, man. That hurts. Okay. So let's talk about this. So the last couple weeks, or last month or so, I've done some traveling. I kind of share with you guys. Zeus and I went to Seattle. We went to a 49ers game. And, outside of the greatness of the game and the experience of being with my son and all that time and all that, um, started paying attention to what was happening in Seattle, in Washington, the surrounding area, and kind of what the culture is, how things are, what the beautiful natural surroundings of the area and everything. And again, I had already discussed what my C type goal is in the house by the creek, and sustaining retirement, and I was like, man, Seattle's nice. Like it's very similar to the Bay Area, but I like it. I like the natural beauty of it all, and I just had a feeling, just kind of in the moment of just like like a little almost disappointment in seeing where San Francisco and the Bay Area almost falls short of its potential, of what it could be, of what it should be almost, right? So that was kind of my first thoughts going to Seattle. And then last week we went out to Montana to go visit Montana State. And Montana was beautiful, right? So again, I'm in a circumstance in a new okay, think state area of tremendous natural beauty. Again, we had a great experience. The college was beautiful. The specific program that we're looking at and we're interested in was fantastic. Everything seemed to be a really good fit. But more so for me, in terms of context of what we're talking about, I'm seeing beautiful creeks. And not the kind of creek that when I think in terms of California and what I'm really more used to, the openness, the land associated in California is tough to find, right? It's kind of like you're either way out there or but there's not really a lot of land associated, with a creekside house, and it's a sort of a different setup for the most part in California, depending on where you go. But out there in Montana, I'm seeing it everywhere. So my point is, I'm in tune. I'm tuning in. My perception is changing, and it's not necessarily specific to those areas, but it's telling me, well, what if you could achieve that C-type goal? What if to like I have a plan for you, the universe tells me, but maybe it's not where you think it should be, but it'll be what you want, right? And so I'm again tuning in, like, I hadn't really thought about that. Again, it's not what I'm thinking about, right? Again, we talked about when it's a C-type goal, you don't see the way, you can't see how to get there, what it would take, what you need to do. You don't there That route isn't laid out for you, certainly isn't clear. So the key is to be again, put yourself on that frequency and then tune in. What's going on? What opportunities are coming my way? What things are changing? How is my heart changing? How is my internal regulations? What kind of things that normally I thought or previously that's not going to change? Could it? Why wouldn't it, right? When you got to begin to question and perceive and tune in, right? That's the words tune in. As I was preparing for today's talk, just kept popping. You gotta tune in, and again, frequency tuning in, right? It's all right there in the same family. Okay, all right. Now, uh, the other part of it is where another crucial portion is the determination factor. And this is something that I've always believed, and I think that this is not necessarily a challenge for me like it might be for some. Well, we all have our strengths and our challenges and everything. And for me, I have often been able to use my determination. Amy might call it my stubbornness. But to achieve what I want, to get things into, like I just have an ability to push out all obstacles, and it's critical. It's super critical, and one of my favorite quotes is from Yoda, right? It's do or do not. There is no try, right? It's like, oh, I'm gonna try to be there, or I'm gonna try to get that done. No, do it. You do or you don't. There's no excuses, right? And again, another good quote that I like is, you know, you can let nothing be an excuse to your success, or everything, anything to be an excuse, an obstacle. Oh, it was too cold, it was too warm, I didn't have the right shoes, the shine on my sweet bald head wasn't quite bright enough for me to go out that day. Anything, whatever I want could be an excuse, right? So, or nothing could be an excuse. I will allow, you know what? You wouldn't believe it. I went to get up and go do my exercise this morning. I couldn't find a pair of shoes. I wore a left blue and a right white shoe, and nothing. I'm not gonna that little obstacle is not gonna stop me, right? Okay, now maybe if I couldn't find any shoes and I had to go run, and the pavement's 125 degrees, something like, right, but no excuse. There's no excuse, right? Determination. How do you implement your determination into what we're talking about, into your C-type goals, into achieving that? And that is by focusing on and finding your why, right? Why is it that you're doing this work? And you got that C-type goal is your why. That's your dream. That's what you're trying to achieve. So the daily habits that you have to do constantly to get there, you don't want to think about, do you want to do the habit? You want to think about, do I really want my goal? Do I really want to achieve it? Your why, your purpose. That's the whole thing. That's in sequence why we set that up first, because then that's the battle. Do I want to get there or do I not? It's not, do I feel like, working today or pushing forward or getting into my paradigm guide and writing down the things that I need to write and spending that time getting on that frequency and doing that. It's not a question of whether or not I want that. It's a question of whether or not I want my C-type goals. So you got to keep your purpose, your why has to be in focus at all times, and you're weighing everything against that, not against how you feel about doing it. And that helps you with your determination, right? Because it's discipline and it's determination. It's not motivation. While you may be motivated towards achieving that goal, the fact that you're motivated isn't the key. It's the determination that you're going to have the discipline to do what it takes. And that's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. Okay. Next chat next week. Again, there's a lot more to talk about in all this, but I want to minimize time. I don't want to keep everybody watching this, but I do want to drive home those points. So our next chat, which will be the last chat for 2024, we're going to discuss gratitude, and we're going to discuss working from a position of abundance or a position of power. And how do we utilize those things, and how do we do those things? Okay. All right. So that'll be next week, November 21st. Okay. Now, the final thing that I want to talk about, and this is really a moment of pride, and I'm going to try to get through this without crying and be very clinical about it. So, but the truth is this was a big victory for me, and I'm very proud again of how I handled it and of the results that I achieved. And it showed me more than anything that on my paradigm journey, I am making progress. Okay. It may be slow. It may be, it's not always felt and seen on a daily basis, but this situation really highlighted it and really drove it home for me. And again, anyway, let's just get into it. I want to share. All right. So the other day, and I think I talked about it on the last chat, but we had our um, championship playoff game coming up, and in the way our league does it, it's two games. So it's two teams. The top four teams are in, and the one plays the four, the two plays the three. The winner of those two games plays each other. So there's three games held in one night. And as the way the seeding was, we had the first game which we won, and we went into the second game for the championship. Now, prior to this, as we're going into it, the night before the championship game, I had a conversation with Evie, and Evie told me she was leaving to go see her girlfriend Kalissa, who lives up north, right? And she was going to be hours away, and therefore wasn't going to make the game. Now, that news first kind of surprised me. Not kind of, it really surprised me because we had just talked about it, days going in, and to me and to I think a lot of the players on the team, the thought of not being at that game or being there for that night is just like no way. It's a huge night, right? So I guess what I'm trying to say is I felt very justified. It was a big night for me, and I thought it was incredibly important. So when Evie told me that, I was very upset. I was very, truthfully, I was hurt, but that hurt came out as anger. And so right away, um, what I'll refer to as the old me came up, and the old behaviors, and Evie and I have butted heads as over the years, and it's been an issue, and it's something that I want to work out. It's something I want to get past, but I'm the problem. Again, this stuff is painful. I'm the problem, right? So here we go. She tells me she's not going to make it. I'm upset, but we're exchanges about what are you talking about? You have to be there. It's a big night. We need you. Evie's just for context, Evie's a fantastic player, really great at third base, a tremendous bat. I mean, just a huge asset to the team. Not having her there would have been a big loss to the whole team, right? So I was, pretty frustrated in the whole thing, and was just, and so what happened was, I felt very justified, and that's the point, right? Because in that righteous indignation, feeling justified, I took a strong stance, right? And so she's like, I'm not going to go. And I'm like, yes, you are. No, I'm not. I'm like, well, then, I didn't say F you, but that was my attitude. And I was like, well, fine. I go, forget it now as we're discussing it. Now you can't play. I'm not even going to let you play. And you can't even play next year, right? I'm so mad, and I'm justified in my being upset, and I know I'm right, and this is crazy, and she's hurting us, and she doesn't care enough about the whole team, and I'm willing to, in that moment, in that stance, burn our whole relationship down because she's doing me dirty. What? What? Right? And so here's I had two things. Two things pulled me out. Excuse me. Two things pulled me out. Thankfully. Number one, I saw immediately what our argument, the reaction that came over Zeus, my son. And I could see it was again. We were back, a few years back when it was, a young teenager Evie and me, and we're headbutting, and we're just going back and forth, and we're both dug in, and we're both, really strong willed and all that. And I could see Zeus just going, and he's like defeated. So what does he do? He takes off and goes for a walk. Good for him. Positive outlet. He goes off for a walk. But I'm dug in, and I'm like, I know, even though he's upset, like I'm right. Damn it, I'm right. Still there. And so, but that was the first, like, man, am I right? yes, I'm right, but damn, like is it worth, right? So then I'm texting back and forth with Amy, and she's listening to me, and it's thinking of how I'm feeling as I'm talking to her. I'm like, that's not that's not who I am now. And that was what really, excuse me, really brought me out of it, was realizing that the behaviors were not in alignment with who I want to be, who I am now. It was old paradigm. It was old paradigm kicking in, and in that moment I realized it in looking at it in the like almost through Amy's eyes, looking at myself, something like that. It was kind of sort of a not quite out of body experience. I'm not going to put all that on it, but I just put myself thinking about, like, is this how I want to her to see me? Is this who I am? And it's not who I was. And it wasn't how I wanted her to see me. It wasn't how I wanted to be seen by anybody anymore. Certainly not how I want my kids to see me. Right. And so again, golly, it really, I had to dig in and think, okay, my relationship has to be worth more than this. I'm not at this point going to allow myself to be caught, um uh to be locked in on this position, even if I'm right, or even if I feel that I'm right. It's not worth it. So what do I need to do? And it can't be fake. It has to, like, I knew in the moment, I can't just say the right things. I had to change how I felt in my heart. And it was hard. And I had to go back in and be like, you know what? Look at it from her perspective. Seek to understand. This is the thing I've been reading in the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. I told you guys I've been on that book, and this is Habit 5. Talks about how we seek first to understand and then be understood. And again, in that moment, all I could think, how could she not understand what I'm talking about? This is the championships, it's the playoffs. I wanted her to understand me. So I really dug in the moment right then and really decided, you know what? Let me sincerely try to understand her and her perspective. And as I did that, I was able to do that. And I thought about what she was saying and why she was saying it, and the timing and how things had worked, and her work schedule, and there was legitimate reasons, and there was a birthday involved, and so I was able to do fairly difficult process, for being honest. Change how I felt in my heart. I really did. And it took me, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. I don't, it took a while, took a little while, not as long as it could have, not as long as I have allowed something like this to take in the past. So within that time frame, I was able to turn it around. And then I remembered a couple other things. What I was expressing previously, old toxic me was expressing anger. But the truth of the matter is it wasn't anger that I was really feeling. It was hurt. It was pain. It was disappointment. It was frustration. You know what I mean? Right. So it's not anger, but that's how I chose to express that feeling, was through anger, which, right, again, and I'm putting it all in perspective as I'm thinking about it, and it's painful to really acknowledge. And I'm like, okay, if I'm expressing it through anger, and all I could think about is how upset I am, what is my vibration right now? What is my frequency? The only results that I can get on this frequency are low frequency results. It's negative stuff, bad stuff, right? I'm feeling bad. The situation's bad. I'm upset. I'm emitting angry vibrations. How can I possibly then receive positive vibrations? How can I encourage positive vibrations? You can't. I'm not. You're not on that frequency. You're only going to get what you're putting out. Oh, all this stuff is hitting me. It's weighing on me. It's freaking killing me as I'm thinking this all through. And this is all happening in those 15, 20 minutes. So then it gets to the point, right, where I know what I should do. But now I'm battling old me because, in all honesty, once you've dug in, this is my paradigm. Once you've dug in, this is my old paradigm, into that position of righteousness, and you've dug your heels in and you've drawn the line, to not hold that line is weakness. It's defeat. You lose. You give up. I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't do that. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. And in fact, when I did, and I turned around, and instead of, I just said, yeah, there's no line. That line is bull, right? It's nothing. What is important here? What do I really want at the end of the day? What do I really want in this situation? And what I really wanted is to not be in a fight with my daughter. What I really wanted is for our relationship to grow. Yes, of course, I wanted her to be at that championship game, but really not more than I want the next years of our relationship to be great and bonded. And so, what if I did make her go to the game out of guilt and out of, well, if you don't, I'm gonna this and that, right? And then she goes, right? Like, is that a win? No, it's not a win. That's a loss. Yeah, I won the moment, but I would lose. She's going to resent me. She's going to be angry at me. She's going to, who knows what the result of that will be, but very low frequency stuff, right? So dug in, changed it up, and I wrote a quote here, and I want to read it, and it says, ah, yeah, okay. So I said she wouldn't learn her lesson, right? These are all things as I was feeling, letting her off. And in my old paradigm, I says I would rather suffer practically any consequence before I would let that position go. And again, it's just like, that's old. That's it's painful, right? So no, where's the? I'm sorry. I got to get. I find this. I wrote it earlier today, and I was like, yes, that's it right there. Yes, here we go. Okay. I dug in deep and I changed my heart. That's what I was explaining, how I was feeling, which then changed my vibration. And it was sincere because it has to be sincere. You can't just say the right words. It has to be sincere to truly change your vibration. So I truly changed how I was feeling. And my more positive frequency, here's the key, allowed her, allowed room for her frequency to change. Okay. Because if I'm dug in and she's dug in, the first person who blinks is the loser in that battle. But if I erase that and eliminate my strong position, then that means she can also take that step towards me. So I took the first step forward, and I approached from vulnerability, from honesty. I said, "Hey, baby girl, I understand that, if at first I said, if you need to go, please go and please drive safe. I love you." Right. And then I said, I just need you to know that this is extremely important to me. And I, kind of got into some heartfelt stuff in terms of how much it meant and how, the different members of the team and blah, blah, blah. I said, I don't want you to know that. But, again, if you go, I'm not going to love you any less. I'm not going to be mad at you. I understand. And I sincerely did. And that was the key, because I sincerely had gotten to the point where, like, okay, I'm not going to fight over. We're going to survive. We probably will still win. And even if we don't, it's not the end of the world. It's a softball game. It's a softball game. Okay. So what I want to review, and what was a key crucial point here in all relationships is when we can remove ourselves from the line. right? Y'all know what line I'm talking about, and we all have different lines for different reasons at different times and with different people. Okay. But when we can remove the line and take away the fact that this is now a dug in battle, and we seek, right, again, seek first to understand, and we don't take that position, we change our vibration, we change our frequency. We've been talking about this for freaking weeks now. My frequency changed, allowed her frequency to change. And next thing you know, we're laughing, giggling, going to the championship game and winning two games together and having a wonderful time. Okay. It all worked out. It all worked out. And I was ready. And again, I think this is the key element. I can't emphasize this enough. I had to get in there and make that change from within. And once I did, it didn't matter. And that's what I had to get to, where it didn't matter what she did, because that, my friends, is what we call unconditional love. That's what it is. Not conditional. If you leave, I'm going to be mad at you, and my love is going to be dented or tainted or hurt some way. It's unconditional, baby girl. It's your choice. I'm not going to love you any less, and I don't want you to feel like, I'm going to be mad. I don't want you to stay away from me because you think I'm mad at you over this or whatever, right? Big win. Big, big, big win. Honesty, understanding, and vulnerability. It's changing. I'm changing. I'm changing. And I thank you all for being on the journey with me. Um, it's incredible. It's working. If you're still tuning in and you're still listening and you're still thinking about this stuff, you're making progress. I know you are. And I've talked to each one of you individually, and I'm not going to call anybody out tonight or share what they've shared, but everybody has shared with me positive things. They're tuning in to different stuff. The universe is making things happen to them. Their perspectives changing on this and that. It's incredible. It's incredible. And I'm so happy to be part of this for myself, for the improvement that's happening personally, but to also be a witness, a factor in the smallest way for any of you in helping you on this journey. And at the end of the day, what are we doing? We're just trying to be better, right? Better what? Just better. Better people, better partners, better friends, better family, better whatever. Just trying to be better, trying to be the best version of ourselves. And that's a noble conquest, right? That's what it's all about. Just trying to be the best version of ourselves. So thank you all very much. I love you all. Have a great week. Next week, again, will be our final week of 2024. We're going to talk about gratitude, and its importance of expressing that. Perfect topic as we go into Thanksgiving week. So hope to see you all then, and keep working on your paradigm.